Here we go with game 2 of the Grim Classic. Currently a 1-0 lead for Team Donski, otherwise known as Team 1. Looks like they have subbed out Wheezy, replacing him with Killer King. That's definitely an upgrade. Killer King has apparently put up some pretty good ratios in a number of different games, and he's just not a new player. On the team side of Seeker, we're swapping out Homer for Zach and Impy in for Trejo. I say Impy for Trejo is probably a pretty even swap. Impy's not really a Reg Myth player. He's more known on the World War II side. And then Homer, again, is a very solid player. Similar to Zach, haven't seen him play recently. So, it can be argued if that's an upgrade or downgrade or just neutral. But from my perspective, as whatever little I've seen of them, it's pretty neutral. From a trade perspective, we'll look at Seeker's team. Got 4 Morts, 4 Locks, 10 Herons, and Max Puss. Flip it over to Donski's side. Again, second game in a row with pretty significantly different trades. We've got 8 Archers and only 1 Mort. So we've replaced those 3 Mortars with 8 Archers. Now, Archers can be a really effective hold force. It's hard to push in, but it's going to be really important that they stay alive. It's pretty easy for Archers to overstep against a Warlock or even against a Mort on some of these hills, which could be trouble. From an FG perspective, we've got Shyster and Argos on the Forest Giants. Argos looking for redemption. He was featured minorly in Dory's Way. We've got Limp and Tiri on Forest Giants on the side of Seeker. We got everybody else on just fairly mixed squads. So I'm going to speed this up a bit. We've got Ars and Killer King on a couple of matching Heron packs. From a percent perspective, Vaz and Garrick here are carrying the load from a Archer sort of mixed squad. Unit distribution on the map looks like all mid from Donski with just a little scout force south, as well as an FG that can quickly mobilize, and then basically all north for Seeker's team. So this makes sense, these Archers wanting to control mid. If you're able to successfully control this, you I think do preserve your options late game. You can potentially pinch things off and just hold pretty well. On the side of Seeker's team, Limp is flanking a Forest Giant around. I actually really like this at first, and here's why. So you've got Garrick, Arsenic, and Silic all responding to Limp. So Limp's got 14% basically, and he's occupying something in the neighborhood of 26, so 34%. So that's basically a 20% advantage everywhere else in the map. What that should mean in a normal game is that you've got to find a way to take advantage of where they're weaker. In this case, that's mid. Instead, we see a couple of Morts here on a home defense flag, and we see Retless flanking over to Limp. Now that this FG is also joining to respond to Limp's flanking, again, would really like to see Retless focus more on potentially pinching Arsenic or just helping with the overall team as they're pushing in here. Not much happening on the east side. Again, we have Killer King just sort of, flexing around, trying to be a distraction. At this point, Limp is still doing a good job of distracting a bunch of stuff. Both Silic and Garrick and Shyster have all been pulled up here. Now, that said, with Retless now reinforcing, there's less of an advantage just from a percent perspective mid. And we see, these Archers are doing a good job of basically falling back slowly and stalling. From an FG perspective, there's not a whole lot to be done. There, Tiri and Argos are just basically shadowing each other. So pressure is on Limp and Retless here to make a move or to back out, because otherwise these Archers can just shoot you down. Interesting play here. We've got a Puss that goes in onto Retless's Warlock, which duds. And we've got a good Puss from Retless onto Shyster's FG. However, Limp we see is a little bit out of position for that Puss to be able to do much. They're unable to get a lock shot off that hits the FG. So basically, we're now down a pus from Rutless's side. Limp's pus is also gone. No mana on the Warlock. So Rutless needs to just get out. He's probably completely dead regardless. And Limp should really just run here. FGs can go off terrain. So there's no point for him to even be here. Unfortunately, it gets pussed and cleaned up pretty easily. A lot of fire arrows here from Garrick, just add insult to injury. So at this point, 87 to 67% lead. So 20% lead, pretty substantial. Not much has happened mid or east. We still have 2 full health Forest Giants. So you now see Shyster collapsing in on mid. Trading some lock shots again. All 8 archers are still alive. So again, I don't know that archers are necessarily, the greatest trade on this. But if you've got players, in this case like Vaz and Garrick, that are able to keep them alive, that's definitely an advantage for your team. Asmo is sneaking around here just to put some pressure east. However, he doesn't have any artillery, so there's nothing he's going to be able to do. You can't rush this lock. At this point, I would say Donski's team has the majority of Seeker's team's forces bottled up mid. Jester's doing an interesting thing here where he flanks around just to put pressure on the backside. Looks like he sees some isolated melee and Seeker here. Monty did do a good job of seeing this and shadowing up. Once we flit around, looks like this Mort is going to go down. Seeker does manage to get a suicidal shot off, which damages it. Monty fakes a pus, and here we see it go off. Is able to pus it. I'd say Shyster's Heron is out of position there. If he was closer, he might have been able to just heal that FG after it got pussed. But yeah, responding in kind to Limp's Forest Giant play, his fellow name changer chooses to donate his own Forest Giant for the cause. Still a 13% lead, but this does significantly open up the possibilities of at least this game getting close. But, just from looking at the units as they're distributed on the map, you've got a whole bunch of artillery for Seeker's team concentrated. You got 1 lock north. You've got all of the remaining artillery, so 2 locks and 2 morts mid. That means you've got no artillery east. So there's really nothing east is going to be able to do except for just get pushed slowly. So I would like to have seen one or two of these forces to try to mirror and shift east. Donski's team did have 4 flags first, which is why they're showing up on top and would show up on top in the perm, even though it's 3 flags to 3. So Thierry and Seeker's team has got to end with 4 or 5 or again, all 6 flags. A tie is going to give Donski the win. 12% lead, and this is what I mean. With Thierry and Asma now getting pushed, no artillery, can't do anything. I would say that, Homer either needs to spare some of his units to Rutless and Limp and send them east. Because these archers, again, they've done a good job. They're still alive, but those aren't scary tagging forces. So if you can somehow sneak over around and win that eastern fight, winning east is really the only way I can see you winning this game, because everywhere else is basically a hold. As it is, again, slowly getting pushed in. Lead is still 12%. Trading some lock shots here. Nothing really happening. We do eventually see, Homer and Impy both shifting over east. But at this point, it may be a little bit late. Having both folks shift does also leave mid a bit undermanned. So we're seeing Impy and Monty try to back up. Impy is also controlling units in 2 spots at once, which is not great. Particularly for a player that doesn't usually play reg. He's got his lock mid. He's got another lock up here. I think one possible play here would have been for Asmo and Thierry to just try an all-out rush, along with Homer. It's desperation, but in theory, if the pus on Argos' side fails, you're able to just get the FG, going nuts here. Maybe you can pull off some kind of minor miracle. Leads now balloons up to 20%. I think it's pretty much done from here. Thierry decides he's gonna, take off and just go tagging. If they manage to sneak a tagger somehow west or sneak something through to challenge this empty back, maybe that gets interesting. As is, you're losing this fight north. All of your artillery is dead, so you're not going to be able to hold the northwest flag. You might be able to hold mid, and then you're basically counting on Thierry being able to hold southeast, and this rush, working for Asmo and Homer. Good block from Asmo. That dead pass, I don't know that it has as big of an effect anyway. It was not going to hit the lock. I don't like that lock shot from Killer King. He is going to win this melee. We've got a couple rogue units. Also, Homer's not necessarily helping out as much as he should. Also, not a great fire ring. Shooting a lock ball into these herons would have been a better play there. Asmo, I think, could kill this lock. Unfortunately, like I said, it was a low probability play, is what it is. Not much happening on this side. We see Argos double pussing Thierry's Heron, but at that point the game had ended. So 4 flags to 2, close game. I think the advantage was certainly there with Limp and Relentless going down west early. Shyster evened it up a bit with his unfortunate death. At that point, though, the inability to push into the archers. As well as being a little bit late to mirror with artillery, and then kind of splitting up units in a less than optimal way, end up putting Team Secret in a position they just couldn't come out of. So 2-0. Well played by Donsky. I like the strat. I think they executed well, and we will check back in a minute for game 3.